Welcome to this GameMaker tutorial. In here we are going to be following the steps of this tutorial right here. Remember that you can switch tutorials right here where it says available tutorials, and you can change it to scrolling shooters or your first game. We are going to be working on your first game first. Now, we close this window and make sure that we are working on simple mode. If you don't see that word simple mode, that means you are in advanced mode. In order to switch back to simple mode, you go to File and remove this check in advanced mode. Make sure that it says simple mode. Well, now let's begin. Welcome to GameMaker. This tutorial shows you how to create your first game. It will take just about 30 minutes to complete and will teach you the important basics of GameMaker. We already made sure we are in simple mode, so we can move on. Let's click on Next. And now we are going to be adding sprites. A sprite is an image. That's it. It's just for appearance. A sprite on its own doesn't do anything, but they are necessary to give shape to whatever you're working on. So let's add our first sprite. We are going to click on the Adding Sprites icon, which looks like a Pac-Man, a red Pac-Man. Click on it and we get this. So the name of our first sprite is going to be SPR wall, because it's going to be the wall. Now, why SPR? SPR for sprite underscore wall. Now we need to load the sprite itself. We are going to click on Load Sprite and we'll see these folders here. Let's go into Tutorial 1 and select the wall sprite. Once you have done that, just click on Open and that's it. You have your first sprite. Okay. Now, let's go and create our second sprite. As you can see, we have to create 6 different sprites. So let's continue with the apple. Create SPR underscore apple. Load the sprite of the apple. Okay. SPR banana. Load the sprite of the banana. Okay. SPR underscore bomb. Load the sprite of the bomb. As you can see, you can also double click to select the sprites. Okay. Next, SPR underscore cherry and load the sprite of the cherry. Okay. And last but not least, SPR strawberry. Load the sprite of the strawberry. And okay, we have our 6 sprites already created. It doesn't matter in which order you create them. Doesn't matter at all, as long as you create all of the sprites. So let's continue. Now we are going to be creating objects. The objects are created clicking in the blue ball. Now, an object is what actually interacts in your game with everything else. That is why an object is so important. Now, a sprite is only meant to give shape to an object. The sprite doesn't do anything on its own, remember. The object does. but the object needs an appearance. That is why sprites and objects work really closely together. Now, before we move on, I suggest you save. Remember, File, Save As if it's the first time you're going to save, or Save if it's just saving changes. So let's move on. I'm going to click on the object, and now I'm going to create my first object, which is going to be the wall. So I'm going to name it obj, obj for object, underscore wall. Why obj? Well, that's so I can differentiate it from the sprite. This is SPR wall, this is obj wall. My object is created, but it doesn't look like anything. So I need to click here in sprite and select the sprite from a list of sprites that I have already created in my program. So let's click on SPR wall, and now my wall looks like a wall. Now I need to be able to see the wall, so make sure that it's visible. This check mark is here invisible. And I also need it to be solid. Solid objects don't let other objects go through them. So I need my wall to be able to contain other objects. So it needs to be solid. Okay. Now I'm going to create my second object. Next, the apple object. Now the wall just needs to be there and not let anything through. That's it. So the programming for the wall was easy. Create the wall, put the sprite, make it solid and visible, and that's it. But the apple needs to move. The apple needs to react to the wall. The apple needs to react to clicking. The apple needs to add points. So the apple is a little bit more difficult to program than the wall, but not so much. So let's start. Create object, and now I'm going to name that object obj underscore apple. I'm going to choose the sprite of the apple, SPR apple, and of course it's going to be visible, but it doesn't need to be solid. Why? In order for a collision to take place, you only need one of the two objects to be solid. In this case, the wall is already solid, but I also need my apple and any other fruits to be able to go through other fruits, so they don't need to be solid. Now, you would think that that would be it, but no, we need to program the behavior of the apple. Now, as you can see, we have two different panels here, the events panel and the actions panel. Events are triggers. They are what trigger the actions. The actions are here and they are divided by tabs. So, an event triggers an action. In fact, an event can trigger several actions. But you need to be clear on what you are going to do, what you want to achieve. So, the apple needs to move. That's the first thing it needs to do. When is it going to do it? At the start. As soon as the apple is created on the board, it needs to start moving. So let's add a new event here with this button, and you will see this box. In here we have several events. As I said before, as soon as the apple is created, it needs to start moving. So the event would be create. As soon as the apple is created, what's it going to do? Move. Now, in which direction will it move? Well, up, down, left, right. But it's also going to be moving in diagonals. Why not the center? Because if I activate the center, then there might be a possibility of the apple just standing still. So no, not the center. The speed, well, needs to be 8 according to the tutorial. And then OK. Now my apple, as soon as the game starts, the apple will start moving. In which direction? Any direction. Next. Now I need to create a new event. I need to program the behavior of the apple whenever it hits a wall. So event at this time is going to be collision. Whenever the apple collides with the wall. Now, what do I want the apple to do when it hits the wall? Well, I want it to bounce off the wall. So I select the bounce action right here and drag it. Don't need to modify any of this, so OK. And now I have programmed 2 different events with 2 different actions. But I also need to be able to program the behavior of the apple whenever it's clicked on. So add event, mouse. Now, which action? Pressing the mouse button. But which mouse button? Well, the left one, the one we use regularly. So left pressed. Whenever I click on the apple, I want it to first teleport. Where? Wherever on the board. So these are the teleporting ones. This one teleports it to a fixed location. So not that one. This one teleports it to the starting point. Nah. And this one teleports it to a random location. This one is the one. So I don't need to modify anything else here. OK. And now I need to add score. I need to add points. Now, this is really easy. First, I go to the Score tab right here and select the first action, which is setting the score. Now, there's something here that you need to understand, and that is that it's going to set the score. So it's going to be adding 50 points. But whenever I click on the apple, it's going to replace wherever it's in my score with a 50. And that's not how scores work. No, I need to be adding 50 points to whatever is on the score. In order to add instead of replacing, I need to click on relative. That would be 50 points relatives, 50 points more relative to whatever is on the score at the time. So relative, OK. Now I have created my second object and I have programmed it. Now, as you can see, here the tutorial suggests that you save their changes. You can do it here. Next, we are going to be creating a room. A room would be like the world or the board, whatever you're going to be working. So, let's click OK here. And let's create a room. So we have to click on this button here to create a room. And now here we have the dimensions of our board or room or whatever we want to call it. So in here I'm going to place the starting points of the objects. So I'm going to start with the wall. I want the wall to be around the whole world. So I can do that by selecting the object wall and clicking wherever I want this to be created. You can hold down the Shift key and then just hold click until the end. If you make a mistake, you can erase it by right-clicking on it. Delete. Now, I'm going to set up 3 apples in the room. One here, one here, one here. It doesn't matter the location of the apples. I just need 3 apples. That's it. So, let's check the game. I'm going to save for now. Close this. Save. Save. And now I'm going to test my game. How? By clicking on this button right here. See? They are moving. And if I click on it, see? Score 50, score 100, score 150, oops, score 200. That would be it. We'll meet later on part 2 of this tutorial. Thanks for watching.